This is not my day. This is the third time I've tried to film this video because either this battery went out from this lapel mic or the receiver battery went out just now, so I'm replacing that. The first time the audio was both of them were out. Oh, and yeah, and you know what? It just my mind is like all over the place right now. I haven't been able to give much time to you guys. Our relationship is, kind of not been good due to the fact my second job is taking my entire life right now. It's long hours, no pay, dirty job, but someone's got to do it. Someone's got to clean the diapers. Someone's got to change the diapers, change the dirty clothes. So yeah, the fatherhood is literally a second full-time job, and this is why I haven't been able to make videos in daytime like this. You've seen me in nighttime with a beard, hair all over the place, just a mess, and that's the time that I find to make the videos. So right now it's a good time, but it's gonna get even hectic when my wife goes back to med school back in March, and that's when I'm gonna have like literally 9-10 hours with Pramila, and I'll have to take care of her. So I don't know, you might be seeing me holding her like that and then shooting the video, but yeah. However, it's rewarding because now she's able to make contacts with you and able to see you and smile, and so pays attention now. So yeah, it's worth it job. But anyway, guys, so, and also tomorrow I'm going to be doing my Q&A. So in case if you do not know, I answer all your questions from the comments that you put on my YouTube videos. Not on my Facebook, not on Twitter, Tumblr, all the other social networks that I have. It's simply when you put a comment on my YouTube video page itself, I pick the comment and I just answer your questions regarding astrology or whatever you want to talk about. So I will do that tomorrow. I haven't done that in like 2 months now. I was doing that like every week, but right now I'm going to try to do like bi-weekly. Okay. So anyway, today let's talk about 7th Lord in the 10th house and what happens when the planet that controls your 7th house sitting in the 10th house. And obviously, if you do not know where your 7th Lord is placed, where your 10th Lord is placed, 5th Lord is placed, conjunction, aspects, what's your rising sign, all of these things, for that, check out the links here and check out my full astrological report and my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects at the Speed of Light. So, guys, 7th Lord in the 10th house. What is 7th house? So, as you know, mainly 7th house is a house of marriage. 7th house is a house of your business partnerships, interaction with other people, interaction with the opposite sex, pretty much. Because 1st house is you, 7th house directly is the other people, especially the opposite sex, because it's house of marriage, okay? So that's what it represents. And what is 10th house? 10th house is the house of your career. Mainly, it's really the house of your reputation. It doesn't show really what your career is, because remember, I've seen people with Venus in the 10th house in Libra, and these guys are doctor, lawyers, accountant. It doesn't mean you're going to be an artist, or it doesn't mean you're going to be in the entertainment business. That's just a basic cliche of astrology, that 10th house is career. It's not. It's actually a pretty tricky process, but once you know the process, you know what their career is, which actually you will see in my magazine, or my book / magazine that's going to come out in July. So 10th house is reputation, how your image is into the world. It's your professional colleagues, professional people that you interact with. It's the house of government. It's a house of authorities. It's a house of your father. Okay. So when 7th Lord goes into the 10th house, what this shows is that you specifically want somebody who's a professional. You don't want to go for somebody who might be as a man, you don't want somebody who's a housewife or somebody who's more involved in other things. You want them to be a professional. You want them to have a certain status in life, certain position in life. Why? Because you want a partner who can enhance your position in life. That's the kind of pretty much what you're looking for. You're looking for somebody who's professional, somebody who can add a certain label into your resume. You're married to a surgeon. You're married to a politician. You're like, wow, here I'm marrying somebody who's going to elevate my status. I'm Mrs. This, who's a wife of the surgeon or politician, governor, state senator, or a cool, hot-looking astrologer on YouTube. So, it's reputation. It's all about reputation. And one thing you also want to know is that 10th house represents your interaction with the government, your interaction with people in authority, You want a partner who has a lot of connection with authoritative people. You want a partner who's not just a surgeon, but actually knows the freaking surgeon in general in the United States, the doctor of president of the United States. Okay, so you want your partner to have a lot of authoritative government connections. At the same time, what this tells me is that you are probably married to your work. Because 7th house is a house of marriage, 10th house is a house of career and colleagues and your professional reputation, and you're tied to that. No matter what you do, your family life, your marriage life is all about tied with your work. If you do take your wife, husband out, if you do have a romantic time, it'll still be tied to your reputation. It'll still be tied to your work. Taking them out kind of becomes a work. Like, okay, I'm going to take her out to this party, and in this party, if they see my hot and good-looking wife, I might get a raise in my law firm. They will be attracted to me more. All the guys in the law firm will be like, oh, this is a hot wife. It all becomes like this, a chess game with this position. And marriage is simply a business. Marriage becomes a business. Like, you're like, okay, I will give you my hot body, my big plastic boobs, my plastic surgery to make me look like a supermodel, and I will be long, lengthy, and fit. In return, I want a lawyer with $1 million who's connected to the government, gonna go have a political career so I can be Mrs. blah, 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 blah. So all of these things are tied this business deal, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that because that is your karma. You are here to take a business approach to marriage, okay? But depending upon what planet is controlling the 7th house, is in the 10th house, it may differentiate. It may bring a different sense of what you're looking for in a husband, okay? So let's say if Sun controls your 7th house, Sun is sitting in the 10th house. What this shows is that you look for a partner who's connected to the government. Your partner, your life partner, your spouse might be working for the government. And it also shows that you look for a partner who's able to take charge and be an authoritative figure and is a leader in whatever they do. You look for somebody who has this executive CEO, presidential type personality who's able to go out and take charge. Your marriage is your ego really evolves as much as, the more your partner progresses in their professional status in life, the more your ego and status rises in life. What this also shows is that your father must have been working in the government or must have been working in a, in the detective, being a detective, police force, army, things like that. And you pretty much are tied, your ego and your personality and your self-esteem is tied to your work and your marriage. Meaning that if one of them do not work properly, your ego comes down. Because Sun is ruling the 7th house. So if Sun is damaged, 7th house is also damaged. But Sun is also your ego. Sun is also in the 10th house. So if your work doesn't go well, your self-esteem comes down. And so you become this very, I won't say I'm not having the right vocabulary, but not a cunning personality, but personality that will do whatever it takes for their job to be secure. Will do whatever it takes for their marriage to be secure. If they have to go around back of somebody, they will do that. But here they are always, feeling that there's a transformation coming in work and marriage, and they're kind of like paranoid, but they always look for somebody who's connected in the government sphere and somebody who's very authoritative. If Moon controls your 7th house, Moon goes into the 10th house, shows that your life partner will be obviously like a mother because of the fact your Moon represents the mother. 10th house, is an authoritative figure. So you want somebody who's able to be that pretty much that bitchy Italian mother in the marriage. You kind of attract those people. And at the same time, you get a spouse who is very creative, who is very sensual. And at the same time, they might actually be in a medical field. They actually might be artists. So it's not always artists, but they might have this artistic sense. They love to beautify their home and their office. And Moon here shows that your mental peace, your mental balance comes from when your partner and you have a balanced work life. Because remember, moon is emotions. Moon goes up and down, up and down. Moon does not, moon doesn't like to be that way. Moon wants to be flat. So if there's disturbance in the workplace, it'll bring disturbance in your psyche, in your marriage. And it shows that your mind is always tied to the work. Your marriage depends upon how well balanced you feel in your work. If things are chaotic at work, marriage will suffer. Because moon just goes up and down in emotions, right? Moon really likes to be balanced. So if there's some hindrance in work, it'll affect your marriage. And that pretty much goes for every planet, as I said. Let's say Mercury controls your 7th house. Mercury goes into the 10th house. What this shows is that your communication with the spouse will be very professional. It'll be all about business. It'll be all about what's happening in the workplace. So when you come home or you're hanging out with your spouse, you guys will always be discussing workplace and how to have a higher status in life, how to create more business relationships. You'll be attracted to somebody who has a lot of business relationships with them, who brings in a very articulate and aggressive style of speech, who is very much out there and very social, in creating relationships with other people. And this pretty much shows that your spouse can, be in the field of law, be in the field of accounting and business. Okay. Let's say if Venus controls the 7th house and Venus is in the 10th house. What this shows is that you will attract a spouse who will be status oriented. You will attract a spouse who will definitely be into arts, entertainment, who will have that as a hobby. May not be doing an entertainment thing, but you would want a spouse who can enhance your creativity because they have creativity. And through that, you also want them to have some status. That, hey, he's well known in the community and his reputation in his community is very pleasant. Whether it's a he or she, you want their reputation in the community to be very pleasant. You want them to be charming. You want them to be romantically, charged. And at the same time, you want them to have a, professional life. And at the same time, you want this spouse to add value to you. You don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be money value. It doesn't have to be jewelry value. You want them to bring some sort of a value, whether it's a value of knowledge, value of art and culture, but you want value. And especially culture, you look for a spouse who's very cultured. Because Venus represents culture. Venus originally rules the 2nd house. So always have that element of culture. So you're looking for that, in your spouse. Let's say if Mars controls the 7th house. Mars goes into the 10th house, shows that you're going to have a spouse who might be a soldier, who might be a fighter, professional fighter. You might find a spouse who is a kind of like a very aggressive person when it comes to dealing with, professional places. But the thing is, this spouse will be very much involved in their work and they will ignore you. And that's where the power struggle will come in. What this also shows is that your spouse pretty much will try to take control of the marriage and your situation in ways that you probably not be aware of. They might go around you behind your back to make situations happen where they have more control of the marriage, the assets, and things like that. And at the same time, you may actually get a spouse who might be a very executive and authoritative position in their workplace, and they kind of bring that executiveness into the marriage as well. Like your spouse is just, wants a certain settings where they can, exert their power. Like they kind of want you to be afraid of them. Doesn't matter. You may have a loving marriage, but you're like, okay, I know where not to cross the line with them. Okay. And at the same time, with Mars holding the 7th Lord, in the 10th house. With Mars, you may be attracted to a spouse or may get a spouse who might be a doctor, who might be in a medical field, trying to nurture other people with aggressiveness. Like they're like, okay, let me take care of them, kind of like what a doctor does. Doctor has emotions, they want to take care of you, but they have many patients. So they're just kind of like a factory line. Like they go, then next, next, kind of like that. But, mainly your spouse will be a very manly, aggressive figure who has a very, very strong willpower, very, very strong nature. Like whatever they decide on, they will do it. No matter if they have to go around other people, they will go ahead and achieve that status in this life. Okay, let's say if Jupiter controls your seventh house, Jupiter goes into the 10th house, shows that your spouse will be known as this teacher figure in society. You want a spouse who can enhance your knowledge and be very professional in terms of their knowledge and intelligence. You want a spouse who has PhD, master's degree, who is very good in finance, who's very good in, learning things, and who's also kind of like a counselor, not just for other people, but for you. You're looking for this professional counselor in marriage. You want somebody who knows all the ins and outs of a marriage situations, and you want them to know. You want to know that they can solve any problem, especially money problems as well. Okay, you look for a spouse who's quite mature in age and who's able to provide the stability to raise your children. Although this is the thing with every single planet, a woman wants that, a man, especially women, because of the fact Jupiter represents a husband for a wife. You'll find women who do not care if this guy can have my children or not. They might just look for status, but this woman wants him to be professionally up there so they can support their family, support their children, and have children. Because Jupiter has this. Jupiter is a significator of having children. So you want them to be professionally up there so you can have children whose father will have a status. Okay? But it's a very good placement. You find people who are very knowledgeable, might be teachers, might be financial counselors, might be even lawyers, in a professional field. Let's say if Saturn controls your 10th house, Saturn controls your 7th house, and Saturn sitting in the 10th house shows that you may be getting a person who's pretty much a workaholic, might be doing manual jobs, repetitive routine jobs, government administrator, and at the same time it shows that your marriage might be delayed because of the fact Saturn in the 10th house looks at the 7th house. Although it's his own house, but Saturn may bring the delay in marriage, especially if it's really looking at the main degree of your midpoint of your 7th house. Shows that you are attracted to a very mature, very professional person, but at the same time somebody who is very much mature in age with you. You're kind of like attracted to quite older people, or you simply get older people. And in a situation, you will get a spouse who has or who puts in a lot of discipline, structure, and organization into the marriage. Like marriage doesn't feel like a marriage; it kind of feels like a boot camp with Mars, like Mars, but Mars has more passionate energy as well. But with Saturn, it kind of like just becomes like there has to be this structure and schedule in a marriage for a marriage to progress.